Okay, this tutorial is on Seesaw. So here's what it's like when you go to Seesaw. You can log in, and it takes me to the classroom I was just on. So I have 3 classrooms set up. I have my STEM classroom, and then I am also on a few other classes. So I have more than one. I'm going to start by showing you some stuff on Mrs. Pearson's classroom. This wrench is probably the most important part with, I guess, managing your own Seesaw account. So I'm going to go back to this class here. So this wrench, here is where I have the name of my class, Mrs. Mahan's STEM. My grade level, I don't have a specific one here because I teach kindergarten through 5th grade. I can manage teachers right here. So if I want someone to be like a teacher helping in this, this is where that would be. So if you will see here under manage teachers, I am under Mrs. Pearson's class, and that's how I actually have access to this. So when I go back, I can change my color scheme here. I might change it to orange. I can change my icon. So since I'm STEM, I might find something that's more geared towards what I do. So I could use this robot. The class code. My students have shared devices in the STEM lab, so that is why that is selected. If I look on Mrs. Pearson's, she has one-to-one devices here. So that's why hers is selected there. The next thing is probably the most important, and this is where you manage your students. Now, if I want to add a student, let's say my student's name is Alex. I'm going to click Add Student, and I can go through and add their last name, their display name, if I want them to have a specific icon. Maybe I'll give her the frog. Oops. Maybe I want her to have a frog. And then I hit the back arrow, and now there's a frog. I can add an email in here. I can add family members. So if I want their parents, I can just hit invite a family member. I don't have my family access turned on, but that's how you get their family connected as well. So I'm going to jump back over to Mrs. Pearson's page. So her students, when I log on, it shows the students right here. Home learning and student codes is super important. This is where if I hit print codes, it is going to show me the list of how students will log in. So I would send this sheet home here, and this will explain to parents how they can log in. It is very specific for Aiden. Here's how he can do this. There's multiple ways using online or the app. They'll select that they're a student. They can either text the code or scan the code, and it gives a code right here. And it has this for every student. So this is something you're going to want to send home before you start using Seesaw. You can also download the codes and send it via email if someone needs it. The next thing is student likes and comments. Now, if you see this is shut off, and that just is not allowing students to hit like a like button on people's work, but they are allowed to comment. So things you are allowed to do here are green. And this is definitely important. Anytime you're allowing students to comment or submit their own work, you do not want it to show up until you approve it. So that's what this require approval means. It means anything kids submit, you get to see first. That way you can deem whether or not it's appropriate, if it should be there, if it meets your requirements, and things like that. So here we have that students are allowed to see each other's work. Anything that students post, any new item, needs approval. You're enabling that you can edit any of the work. And then this just says you have a sample student, and you'll see right over here to the right that there's a sample student. Family access, this is allowing parents to be on here. So invite families. So if I want this student's parents, I can enter their email or phone number, and that's going to kind of reach out to the parent, giving them access to this page. So I'm going to go back to the wrench because I have a few more things. So once that's done, you can hit here and manage families. This will say whether or not any families need approval still. Down here we have manage skills. Now skills is not set up for this classroom, but that's kind of like if you are setting goals, which that requires, I guess, in a different account. So we can skip that part. So once you have that done, you can see here, journal is basically where students are submitting their work. So here is everything that's on the journal for Mrs. Pearson's class. And it's showing your sample student here. Activities are what you post. So if you see there's one activity assigned, it was assigned this morning. It was assigned to all students in the class. And if I want to edit the activity or get the link for this activity, I have those options here. If I decide I want to change my mind and don't want to do that activity, I can delete it. Right here, it tells me how many responses, how many of those responses I need to approve. As of right now, you can see that there are 20 students who have not responded because we have not started this yet. Inboxes, any new messages. Skills, like I said, we don't really use skills. So I'm going to go back to journal. Add is another super important button. Add is where you're going to actually go ahead and add assignments. So if you see in my activities, I have one here, a fraction robot with pattern shapes. If I hit add, I have different options. The first one is to post student work. I can post a photo I can take a photo of something a student did and post it on here, especially if I want families to see it. That's a great way I can do that. Students can draw. You can post a video. I can upload something. I can put a link on here. The other option is assign an activity. Now, there's different options with assign an activity. My library shows any assignment that I liked. In order to like it, you kind of just select a heart, and I'll show you that in a second. So if I click on community, it is showing me pre-made lessons. Now, this is great for remote learning. So say I am looking for specifically a math lesson for 2nd grade. This is going to show me all the math lessons that have been made. These hearts represent how many times someone liked an activity. So this one looks like it's the most liked. So I'm going to click on it. I can play the instructions. So I put a heart here. This means this is a lesson I might want to do. So it gives more specific instructions here, how to use the activities. So if I like this, I have the option to add to my collection, copy and edit it, remove it from my library, or share the activity. I'm going to assign it to my class. I'm going to assign it to Mrs. Mahan's STEM. Assign to one class. Oh, I really can't because I don't have students in here. Let's assign it to Mrs. Pearson's class. I'm going to assign it. And now I'm going to go here. If you see, now this is assigned on my Seesaw account. I don't want to assign stuff on our Seesaw, so I'm actually going to delete that off. I'm going to go back to Mahan's. So now, since I like that, you can see it's here. Maybe I thought this was a great lesson, so I have this on as well. There are so many pre-made lessons. I would just look through, like ones that you think would be the best, and then you can find those in my library. And then once you want to use it, just hit assign. To go back to my class, you choose back to class. The last real thing on here is send an announcement. So I can send this to all my students. Let's look back at Mrs. Pearson's where she has more options. I can send it to all family members. I can send it to students and family members, or I can send it to just my students. So maybe I want to say, thinking of you guys, miss you guys, and I want to add an attachment. Maybe I want to add a photo or a link of a video that I created, or I want to just record a video. That's all an option. I can do a drawing. Maybe I want to draw a star. All sorts of things here. And then you have buttons if I want to do a text box. If I want to record myself, if I want to take a photo, I can choose a background color. So think of how your students could be creative with this. There's all sorts of different things. This is my eraser. If I want to add a page, you can. There's buttons for days. Now, I'm going to delete this because I don't want to send this out. But this is how you can attach an item, or you could just hit this and hit send now, and it's going to be sent out as soon as you select who you're sending it to. So that is all I have for this tutorial. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out, and I would be more than happy to help.